Right on. The first official video of this channel, me and Drew, and it's like behind the scenes talking about YouTube and building a channel. And like, so we're going to spend 60 minutes educating everybody on how do you build a channel? How do you, this is going to be great. I'm going to interview you. You're going to end up wanting to show this video to everybody. Like, all right, Drew, let's see.
I may have to put it behind a paywall.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, but so start off though, we have to like introduce ourselves. So everybody say hi to Drew Burks. Drew, tell everybody who you are.
Well, first of all, Matt, thanks for having me on here. I'm stoked to be on the first one here for the channel, so it's exciting. Yeah, my name is Drew Burks. If you know me, then you know me. If you don't, let's get to know each other. I've been in this game a long time. Made my first affiliate commission online way back in 2008, which dates way back to, around the time you and I met. And
I don't think you went back. I don't think you went back far enough. When did you get in real
estate?
Maybe not. I met you because of real estate. So
yeah, we probably met in 05, 06, 07 timeframe, most likely. And then, I shut down my real estate brokerage. I had a real estate brokerage in San Diego, California, with about 36 realtors working under my license. I was super involved in real estate, and my wife and I want to start a family. And so I said, hey, I'll shut down this real estate brokerage, and I'm going to be a multimillionaire in online marketing overnight, because that's what the gurus say. And so I shut down my brokerage and started online marketing. And about 6 months after figuring out how to write code, because we didn't have all the tools that we have now. So trying to figure out how to write a site on WordPress and code a landing page. And long story short, about 6 months later, I made my first $25, and I was immediately hooked. So yeah, I've been in the game a while, probably done every online business model there is. And now I am completely obsessed with YouTube.
One of the first times I talked to you and you were like, hey, I'm going to like become an internet marketer and leave real estate. And I was like, what? Like I looked at you like you were an alien, and then we didn't talk again until, 6 months ago.
Right.
And we're not really, maybe we said hi online or something, but anyway, so you, in the last year and a half, I've become like enamored with ClickFunnels and internet marketing, and, made a decision recently to move mostly away from real estate, way more towards coaching and back towards training, which of course I ran a training event business for 10 years and, trained 100,000 agents on, how to not fail in real estate and stuff like that. But then, I started researching all this stuff, rediscovered you online. And at this point, like you said, you've tried every model there is, but you've kind of landed on all you do is build YouTube channels. Is that a good way to describe it?
It is. I mean, that's, excuse me, that's the easy way to describe it. There's, the more I get into it, the more obsessed I come with it, the more little nuances there are, right? And I find more things to keep me busy. But yeah, YouTube is the platform for us. And I will tell you that there's no other platform that I've found, and I think I've looked at them all, that gives you the benefits that YouTube gives you. And for me, while there's a lot of benefits, the biggest one is the fact that it becomes an asset. It continues to grow over time. You can do some work today and it produces results for weeks, months, even years later. And it's an asset that you can sell. And that was something I had no idea until about 14 months ago. I didn't know you could buy and sell YouTube channels, but turns out there's a whole marketplace for it, and people want to buy them and people want to sell them, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think, I, have been, just the last couple of years starting to understand what a YouTube was. During the pandemic, I was doing a bunch of podcasting and stuff, but like, it wasn't any kind of serious effort. I never tried to build traffic. I never thought about a keyword. Like, I was just throwing up conversations that I had with friends and people in the industry, and it started out and didn't move far away from like me entertaining myself. But through that process though, I started to get some sense of like, oh, this is a whole world, and I think the thing that like broke it free for me, and maybe this is before 2020, but not long before 2020, was I asked one of my nephews, who at the time was like, I'm gonna say 8, doesn't matter. But like, I was like, hey man, like, what's your favorite like cartoon or TV channel or whatever I said to him? And he goes, he says, Dude Perfect. And I'm like, what the hell is Dude Perfect? Well, yada yada. And you're kind of smiling, acknowledging, I'm thinking you know what this is.
We watch it all the time.
So those dudes, and maybe you can inform me because I'm just going to pull these numbers out of the air. But at the time that I looked at it, I'm like, okay, these guys have built an entire, TV show on essentially on YouTube, and it does nothing but it's like a bunch of grown-up kids playing games to entertain kids, but these guys are like in their late 20s probably or whatever. But yada yada, it's got millions and millions and millions and millions of views. And at the time, when I saw a number that they were like running a $20 million business because of like, all the endorsements, and then they got all these products and all this other kind of stuff. And are you going to bring something up and show?
Yeah, I'm just looking up to see how many views they have, because it's, they have 58.6 million subscribers.
Oh my God.
And, I don't know how to even put that in context, right? If you think about like the largest stadium, like, the largest like NFL football stadium, it might hold 110,000, 130,000 people, maybe.
Well, you can even think about the audience of the Super Bowl. I don't know what the audience of the Super Bowl is. Look that up. See, I feel like I want to be Joe Rogan, so I'm going to need the guy over here to like,
right,
my stats, be like, hey man, Bill, go look that number up. What's the football?
I know we'll have to edit that in maybe, because my computer acts slow, but I don't even know if I can do, I don't even know if I know this number, but on the Dude Perfect, it is, let's see, that would be, I got to put the number. I'm gonna share my screen. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, I think so.
Let me, all right, here we go. I don't even know what the number is. I mean, that's how embarrassed I am. Like, what is this number? Is this 15 billion views?
That is 15 billion views.
I mean,
and so this is cool. I'm glad you brought it up to show everybody. But so back to what I was saying, like my nephew, that I was like a huge mind shift for me to go, he doesn't even live in the TV realm. Like his life is YouTube. Like Absolutely. This is his favorite channel. This is, if he's going to have any time, and he's grown up a good bit now, and maybe he's changed off of it or whatever. But I even like Dude Perfect. Like you said, you like watching it.
We went to their office in Texas on a road trip from California to Florida. We actually made a designated stop to go there to see if we could meet him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
we didn't meet him, but
so the way I describe it to people, maybe this will be useful to people that are watching that haven't seen it, is I tell people it's Jackass for kids. It's basically, it's like G-rated Jackass, right? Like they're just constantly coming up with some scheme, some entertaining game, whatever. But, so you and I live in this YouTube world. We're talking about like monetization of the channel and, lead conversion and stuff like that. And that's great. But these guys, I mean, they've, transcended all of that. Like it's these monstrous corporate sponsorships, and now they're doing like products and stuff, and their events. And I saw something recently that I think they're launching like a theme park or something. That's like the Dude Perfect theme park.
They probably are. I don't even know if they transcended anything, but what they did clearly is that they're younger than us. And all the kids, they all live on YouTube. I mean, if I suggest my kids watch a cartoon on TV, they look at me like I'm an alien. They're like, why would I do that? Right? Why would I go do that? And so, what Dude Perfect did is kind of like Mr. Beast. If you know him, he's like the granddaddy of all YouTubers. And he spends millions of dollars to produce a video, which is something people need to hear when they listen to you and I talk, because, you know, we can talk more later, but one of the big mistakes people do is they get on YouTube, like you said you did, like I did, which is, I'm going to create some videos about this or that, and I'm going to put it up on YouTube. And that's not what YouTube is really designed for. It's what people mistakenly think it is. They think it's a video hosting platform, but the people who have figured it out, the Dude Perfects, the Mr. Beast, all those people that put up all of those cat videos, you know, remember a decade ago, everyone would say like, what is with all these annoying cat videos, these silly cat videos, these stupid cat videos? And those people, they knew what we're just now figuring out, which is YouTube is a platform that monetizes views. And so we've kind of taken that and said, well, how do we make money with YouTube then, right? Like, not how do we create a video to promote myself, or how do I create a video to sell my course? We don't look at YouTube that way. I mean, it's not that you can't do it for that, but we're looking at it for how do we entertain, how do we educate, and how do we monetize these videos? And it doesn't take a lot to start to get those brand deals. So yesterday, just for your info, Matt, on our pickleball channel, I hadn't checked the pickleball email in a few weeks. I went in there, I had 10 different emails from companies, very well-known companies in the pickleball space. I mean, I would say in the top 2 to 3% of the companies. Like, you know, if I had a channel in the soda industry, I would say the Coca-Cola and Pepsi's reached out to me. And they're like, hey, love your channel, love what you're doing. Can we sponsor videos? Can we be involved? We have a project to talk to you about. And that's fascinating because I don't know anything about pickleball. I never played pickleball. I don't have a pickleball paddle. I don't have a pickleball ball. I've been to a pickleball court one time to watch. And so, you know, for us, YouTube is it's a platform that everyone's on now. There's 51 million plus YouTube channels, which is mind boggling. And, you know, I'll tell more about the story later when we get into it, but just say, I watch YouTube every day.
Well, of course you do.
But even before I got into YouTube.
Well, you've made it your business, but I think what we've been talking about here under the theme of Dude Perfect and then Mr. Beast is that, you know, a whole generation now is coming up where that's the primary. And I think that for a lot of people, I don't think, you know, understand that that's the reality. They don't understand what you were talking about in terms of the fact that, you know, there's all of these channels that are really specific and that they're designed to entertain, and that there's so much more of that coming. And I want to save the later part of this podcast for more specific about automation and the stuff that you're doing in Faceless. You know, for a little while, I want to kind of stay in the high level of YouTube in general, and just framing, you know, people into the larger picture. And I think it also connects to what I was saying about, like, the last year and a half or 2 years, I've become really enamored with ClickFunnels and anything around, you know, it's probably more generic and more accurate to say the notion of, you know, online education, course-driven online education, not only as a business for somebody like me or you, but from the way people want to consume stuff now. Like, I want to learn about X, you know, and I'm doing that, right? I'm consuming all these courses. The one thing I was telling you about that I've kind of gotten into is from some guys called Growth Cave. Check that out if you're, you know, looking at, you know, how do I understand YouTube? And you know, one of the examples he was going through was like, how do I train a dog? And then he was doing keyword research, like, how do I train a puppy? How do I train a dog? How do I use, you know, puppy pads or whatever? But the point at the moment for me is that I think that's how anybody does anything now, right? Like, I wanted to change the saw blade on one of my miter saws, and instead of like just fumbling with it, I'm like, let me pull up a video, like, you know, get some dude to show me how to do that.
And that video you watched, most likely, because they were smart enough to put that video on there, most likely they had links to actual blades or tools that were needed to do that. And that's how, you know, that's one of the ways people generate revenue from it. And so that's what, you know, the Dude Perfect people have all figured out, is their revenue model is we can get eyeballs, we can get views. And once we have that, we're now in the advertising business, and we can get sponsors to pay us for it. So,
Mhm. Well, and I think, another piece of it, and it's funny, I think this is something that I was going to talk to you about offline. I'm just going to talk about it on this video, and I think it'll
yeah.
be useful and helpful for people. But as I'm building my coaching business, which is a new business for me. I mean, it's something that I've always done, and it's closely related to a lot of other business things that I've done. But I'm making a big shift, and so there's an opportunity there to I could do one of two things. I can either like make it all polished and perfect, like we were talking about the backgrounds and stuff like that, or I could just like let everybody behind the curtain and be like, follow me along as I build my coaching business, as we build a YouTube channel for that coaching business, as we like make mistakes and fumble through it and whatever. And I think that's the more where it's at, right? I mean, everybody just wants real humans.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Yes, 100%. I support that, and so much so that my 13-year-old, who I have my first teenager, and he's just gotten his phone. We just let him have a phone when he was 13, and so he didn't ask, "Can I have a Facebook account?" He didn't say, "Can I have an Instagram account or a Snapchat account?" He uses something called Be Real, which I never heard about, but it's a new social network, and it's unlike every other network, which is the snapshot of everyone's best life that they're not really living. It pops up at a random time during the day, and you have to take a picture of where you're at. And
Oh, really?
yeah, and it's very cool.
Is it like you can't go further? Like you can't enter unless you take a current picture? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on it, but I think, yes, it's because we'll just be doing something random, like walking into a Trader Joe's, and he's like, "Hold on," and he's trying to get the photo, but it has to be something about it has to be the photo, and then like show where you're at. So you can't make it. I even said, "Well, can't you just take it later? We're busy." He's like,
Yeah.
"No, it's got to be right now."
Yeah,
So
that makes perfect sense, and that so Sherry and I, my wife Sherry and I were talking about my dude Jack, my videographer, is coming up on Saturday to shoot some videos with me for all of this. And one of the big things that probably the number one objective of that visit is to get the kind of like intro piece that goes on the front of all the videos, right? So it'd be really funny, like maybe months, years later, somebody watching this and be like, "Oh, that was that video that I now see all the time," or whatever.
right,
And but Sherry was like, so it's been raining, just raining balls here, and the farm's a mess, and like even the animals are like messy or whatever. And she's like, "Oh, this isn't gonna make a good video," and I'm like, "No, it's gonna make a great video, because it's like that's my life is mud, and like farm and gross and whatever." And then, when I leave, like go to a conference or create, I've hosted a bunch of my own conferences. Like, I could clean up, I can put my pretty
yeah.
clothes on and
I think
whatever.
you
But
should take an idea for it when the videographer comes. Is I'm a big college basketball nut, and so they do an interview every once in a while where they walk the length of the court, the 94 feet or whatever it is, and so it's the interviewer with a player. And so the whole interview takes, like a minute or whatever, but they walk slowly the whole length of the court. And it's very cool. I've even seen them do it on the football field with 100 yards, but you should do that as the introduction to you and your world. And you guys just walk the farm and do that.
oh yeah, that's totally what we're going to do. So, one of the big things that I'm all about is time and location freedom. I mean, I spent certainly recent years, at least the last decade, seeking that above all else. And so to me, as I'm coaching people, like that's the number one thing that I want to talk about. And if that's not what you're after, then I'm probably not your guy. But if that's what you're seeking, I feel like I should show people, what it is. But it's not like, the $3 million house in Cabo. Like that's not what I wanted. Right. We live in
Right.
this like insane farm that in the woods outside of Georgia. And I'm like, this is my life, man. Like this is what I wanted. And And part of time and location freedom is, I built a teeny tiny little house. It's like microscopically small. In fact, I'm mad at myself now and I'm going to make it bigger. But yeah, we built like this teeny tiny house and I'm like, hey, I want a teeny tiny mortgage payment and I want to do what I want to do. And that doesn't mean don't go make a gajillion dollars, but you don't have to, right?
Right. Yeah. You're
choices.
not tied down to the bondage of it. You can, I love it. I love everything about it. Time freedoms, besides my family and my faith, and that time freedom is my most important value. It's what I place the most value on, is time freedom, being able to do what I want when I want. And, I'm not trying to show off Lamborghinis and multi-million-dollar houses. I'm just trying to, my flex over the years has been, I take my kids to practice. I coach your practice. I pick them up from school. I take them to school. And, I think that's attractive to people that want to be in my circle, that I want my circle. And I think the same for you, and you'll attract those people, right? Let everyone else who's attracted to everything else, let them be in those other circles.
Well, what's interesting is I think that so I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I love Instagram, but I'm looking at all these other coaches and like influencers and whatever, and they are like super about, the Lamborghinis and the bullshit and I just, did 10 million of this and whatever. And that's awesome. But for the 9,900,000 others, they, you may never get there. And in the meantime, while you're getting there, you could have a really great life. If you shift your focus more to, time and location freedom. And it's funny, you immediately went to faith and family, which of course I'm, fundamentally, committed to. But to me, those things are enabled by time and location freedom. So like, that's why I come to the conclusion that if you build your finances and your work and like everything around time and location freedom, well, then what do you do with that freedom? That's the next conversation, right? I'm going to spend all my time with my wife. I'm going to, dig deep into my faith, which, I've been deep into for 20 years, but recently gone like deeper on. And, in this last season that, I've dug really, really deep into my faith even more. And I wouldn't have had time to do that. Right. I wouldn't have taken, I would have been like, oh man, I gotta go make a buck. And I do, but I didn't have to right away. And so, It gave me a chance to really spend that time. So I think that's my logic for time and location freedom above all. But pulling it back to YouTube, I mean, I think that's the thing we're talking about here is that, what you're doing, and what, so many people are doing is, depending on how, there's lots of different ways to skin the cat, but at the end of the day, you can build a whole business and a whole monetization around YouTube. It's just unbelievable to me, so congrats to you for, you went after it before a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. There's a lot of people ahead of me, and there'll be a lot of people behind me. It's just I went for it when the time was right for me. But just to even back up a little bit, so people can understand how I got here. Is like you, I was consuming more and more YouTube during COVID. We were all home. We were forced to consume more and more online stuff, and YouTube was a natural progression. Having two small boys, they're always on YouTube. It was, it's kind of forced, upon me really. And, because I always joke, like Saturday mornings, I could get up and watch the Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny and Saturday morning cartoons were what I lived for. And now they don't have that. It's on YouTube. And I was watching a channel one day, and my longtime good friend and business partner called me and said, hey, I bought a YouTube channel. I need you to help me make money with it. And I said, oh, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. And he was going on and on and on. He was so excited. He just bought this channel for like $30,000. And
wow.
And I hang up and I look at my wife, and she was looking at me crazy. And I said, what are you looking at me like that for? She goes, what Joe want? I go, I don't know. Some nonsense about he bought a cash cow channel or a Faceless YouTube channel. And he wants me to help him make money on it. And I will never forget, because my wife looked at me like I was a complete idiot. And she goes, "That's what you're watching right now. You realize that, right?" And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're watching one of those faceless channels right now." She said, "It's all you ever watch, in fact."
Is
And I
that
was like,
right?
"What?" Yeah,
You sort of prefer it?
yeah, I do for the most part because, well, I won't get into that, but yes, I prefer it. And I didn't even realize I preferred it. That's the funny thing. I was watching, I'd been watching them and I just didn't even realize that's what I was watching. And so, uh, long story short, I called Joe back and said, "Hey, it turns out I do know what you did. Give me the channel link," and got into it. And then the rest was history. And it's just all these boxes I've had for problems and, pain in my rear from all these other business models. I was just checking them off like, "Oh my God, I don't have that. No, I don't have that. No, like this doesn't have," and I was like, this is like I felt like an answer to prayer because I was like, man, all these problems and headaches I have with every other model, I don't have it with this. And that's when I was all in. I literally shut down about 6 or 7 sales funnels that week. I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just all in on this.
Well, and you were accomplished at that, in the ClickFunnels vernacular, right? You win the 2 Comma Club award, which means you did $1 million across one account. And I think you told me that you were part of 3 or 4 of those, right?
Yeah, part of 3 or 4 of them, and even one. We had our first $1 million online business before ClickFunnels launch. I actually went to the first Funnel Hacking Live in Las Vegas in 2015, I think it was,
Wow.
because we went there to see if we could rebuild our webinar funnel that was built in WordPress with all types of expensive programming and custom development into ClickFunnels. And so that was when we signed up an account at the event. And that's another fun story I could tell later. But we have been using ClickFunnels since 2015, and I love it. It's fantastic. It's simple to use, and so yeah, I had some success in other models, but none of them will compare to the success we have with YouTube.
Well, I was gonna, as you were just finishing there, I was sort of gonna tie that together to go, well, why are these guys talking about funnels? And it's, if you decide like, hey, I want my business to be online, you're gonna lead people to either some kind of funnel that's gonna give them something to buy, whether it's a course or whatever it is, or a book, or it doesn't matter. But I think what I didn't realize, and it took me a long time to figure out, is like, oh, it's not the funnel, it's the lead generation it's the traffic that brings people to the funnel, right?
Right.
And so bringing it back to YouTube, it's like, it seems like kind of the holy grail of right now anyway, until something changes, it seems like the holy grail of lead generation. If you use it right, and in all these cases, the other thing I didn't understand is you need somebody, you need guides. Like, I need a Sherpa for this. You're my YouTube Sherpa. I need like ad guys. Like, you need all these people to help you, unless you're just brilliant or you have all the time in the world, because you just can't be an expert at everything, and it's a long, big, complicated monster. So
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're old like I am, and you got a family and you got kids and you got stuff doing it. The mistake I see happening, and social media is terrible for this, or great for it, depending on how you look at it, is like, there's so many young, teenagers now and 20 somethings that they don't have families, they don't have kids, they're not going to college, and they're making a fortune, but they can work 18, 20 hours a day without any interruption. So they're going to outpace anything I can possibly do. And so that's a problem that I see right now, is that, everyone looks at social media and they see this snapshot of everyone's perfect life and they try to compete.
yeah.
Right. And it's just like,
Well, and the guys that rise to the top, who and I'm guilty of it too. Like the guy that runs Growth Cave, Lucas is his first name. He's clearly brilliant, and has built a monster, and so the loudest voice, in that case, wins. But I think this is a really important space that I want to live in, and I think you do. It's like, there's a million millions and millions and millions of other people who could make a great living, probably pretty easily more than whatever they make at whatever they do.
Hands down.
And never and be, just a molecule in the cosmos of internet marketing, but like, to do 100 grand, which is certainly more than a lot of people make, is, not hard with all the help in the world, right?
It's not hard. I mean, I can tell you years ago, probably 2011, I was at a friend's house and he had just got laid off from his job. And we both had small kids at the time, our first. And he was like, well, what should I do? What should I do? I've only had this job. And so it was funny. On the spot, I had this idea. I said, well, Greg, let me ask you, if I gave you like a widget, doesn't matter what it is, a phone, a vase, a bottle of water, just anything. If I gave you something to sell, do you think you could sell one to the neighbor? He's like, probably not. And I go, well, do you think you could sell one if you went to every house in this neighborhood? He's like, I don't know. I don't think I'm a good salesperson. I go, well, do you think you could sell one to one person in the city of San Diego? He's like, yeah, probably. And I said, do you think you could sell one to someone in the state of California? He's like, yeah, of course. Right. And I kept going to the United States and to the world. And that's what the internet gives you this ability to do. And where people are making insane amounts of money is, so, people that work at 9 to 5, $100,000 a year, I think, is still probably a good salary to people. But there are people that do $100,000 a month, $100,000 a week, $100,000 a day. And there's plenty of people who are doing millions of dollars a day online. And it's hard to fathom for, even for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people that haven't done $1 million a day, it's hard to conceptualize that, but there's just so many people. And I always struggled, Matt, to how do I get traffic? And to bring that back to YouTube now, like one of our channels, let's take one. I'll give you two examples. So our pickleball channel, I told you earlier, I don't know anything about pickleball. We average about 100,000 views a month. So we're talking traffic. That's 100,000 people viewing that per month. Now we get about 400 to 500 of them to click over to affiliate links every month. Our soccer channel will get anywhere from 200,000-300,000 a month to 2-3 million a month. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about soccer. I've never played soccer a day in my life. So traffic is not the problem.
You're jumping ahead a little bit into automation stuff.
I can't help it.
Let me pull you back. I know you're passionate about it, but I'm going to save that for at least for another little bit, because I think there's so much more to talk about in the larger frame, but let's go back. Let's pull back to away from the $1 million a day. Like, so that's what's happening is everybody gets, their eyes get big and they're like, oh my God, this dude's doing $1 million a day. But I mean, what if he just did 10 grand a month? And in a business that you got, once you got it going, like didn't take hardly any effort, if any at all, and you made more money than you made in your job. And I think the hurdle is to get people to even understand that not only is it possible, but it's, if you had the right people teaching you, like it's pretty much a no-brainer to do that kind of number with anything.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's not to cut you up, but just so people get it, like here's the math, and I don't care which guru you go listen to online, because it's all the same thing. Is you want to make $10,000 a day? Here's your option. Create a $10,000 offer and sell one, create a $5,000 offer, sell two, create a $2,500 offer, sell four. You have to boil it down like that. So it becomes, I think Dan Kennedy said, you need to reduce it to like the believable, right? Like it's like, or where it's so easily believable. You're like, oh, I can do one a day or one a month, right? If you want to do $10,000 a month, you have a $10,000 offer, you got to sell one offer. Now, the flip side of that,
you have to believe in you as the person that's running the sale. You have to believe in yourself. The product has to be good enough. It has to be what is, I don't know if Russell Brunson was the first one to say this, or, now I love this guy, Alex Ramosi. I don't know if you're following him, but and they talk about just like the unbelievable offer. Like the offer has to be so good. Like, Drew, I'll give you $1 million if you buy this, this pen.
Right.
And it's like, why wouldn't I do that? Right.
Right. And so and then the other thing, because, I think natural, right, you go through this, especially if you're watching this and you're just starting out, is like, yeah, but I don't know what I could offer, and maybe I'm not confident. Well, then affiliate marketing is the next best thing, because if you go find someone like an Alex Hormozy, I think is how you say his name. Is that Hormozy or
Yeah, that's right.
Hormozy? Yeah, something like that. Or Russell Brunson, anyone who's got a high ticket offer, most of them pay like a 50% commission. So you go find someone who has $1,000 course, let's say, and you drive traffic and you get a 50% commission, that's a $500 commission. So back to traffic, which is, the piece we're talking about. We just have to have enough traffic to, if you got a $500 commission, you got to make 20 sales a month. It's not even one a day. Right. So I think for me, what I've been passionate about over the years is showing people that there are lots of ways to make money besides the 9 to 5 that society tells us we're supposed to do. And it's because time freedom has been so important to me that I refuse to go sit in a cubicle anywhere for 9 to 5.
All right, now, but before I cut you loose down the automation channel trail rabbit hole, what I want to talk about for a few minutes is kind of, the average Joe brick and mortar guy, who I might coach or you might help, or, and I want to talk about like what that looks like on YouTube. So if I had, you said pickleball, so let's switch to tennis. So if I had a tennis shop in, Sarasota, and, and I wanted to, up my marketing and sales, and, what would you, if I called you and said, how can you help me, Drew, what would you tell that guy?
Well, I put my consulting hat first, and I'd ask him, what the problems are and what they're really trying to solve, to make sure that I can present a solution that made sense for them. I wouldn't just, blanket say, hey, do a YouTube channel. But let's just say that they were like, YouTube is the vehicle for them. The options would be, one, what are they trying to sell? Two, is their website, is it currently set up to sell that, or do they need to convert that to more of a sales funnel process? To make sure that, and the reason that's important is because you don't need traffic if you don't have a good offer, and you don't need traffic and you don't need an offer if you don't have a mechanism to convert them. So that mechanism in our language is a sales funnel. And then it comes to, okay, traffic. Well, what are your options for it? Your options are paid ads. Your options are to build your own YouTube channel, or your options would be to leverage other tennis related YouTube channels where you could sponsor videos or get shout outs for them, or, hijack their traffic, so to speak. Or you could do a faceless channel, which is what we do. And then on that faceless channel, you would simply leverage that traffic back to your tennis shop. So that's how I would go about it. And I'll give you a specific, it's a different niche, but the other day I had a chiropractor call me. He said, hey, look, I run a chiropractic office, right? It's brick and mortar. People come in, I'm hands-on treating them. I have a YouTube channel, got dozens and dozens of videos, but no views, no subscribers. I said, well, what is it you want to do with the YouTube channel? He's like, well, I want it to help my business. I said, well, what's that mean? He's like, well, I'd like it to get clients in, but I also have a book that I've written, it's published. Here it is. I'd like to sell that. I've even done some videos on it. And I would like to build my personal brand so that I could kind of grow out of being hands-on practice. Right. So that's pretty similar to your example of this tennis. And so once I understood that, I said, all right, well, it was important. He wants to be the personal brand. So faceless channels are out. So he had to create a content strategy so he could start creating videos that people want to watch, because if no one watches them, it's pointless. And I outlined a strategy for how he would put a book funnel in place so that he could drive traffic from those videos back to those book sales. And then I'm telling him, the next part of our conversations, what are you going to sell on the back end? Beyond that was, let's go see what search terms people are searching for that would be a patient of yours, like back pain, what type of back pain, neck pain, what type of neck, all these things. And then finding videos that have already gotten viral views on those so that he could start creating videos on those topics. And so on YouTube, the two main topics are search content and viral content. Now he has a plan, right? Of like, okay, here's how I'm going to use YouTube. Here's what type of videos I'm going to create for YouTube.
Well,
and
go back
here's
and explain those two pieces. You just skipped
the
over
search and
really-
viral.
Yeah.
So search is, how long to cook a chicken breast, how to play tennis, what type of racket, right? I'm searching for something. Viral most of the time is I'm on YouTube doing something, wasting time or searching for something. I'm on YouTube and something catches my eye. Very much like a pattern interrupt would be with an ad in your news feed on Facebook or something. And now, before I know it, 45 minutes later, I've watched videos on the top 3 abandoned amusement parks. And, I've watched about a ghost town in California, and my afternoon's gone and I don't know what happened. That's viral. So that's we're always looking for on YouTube. If we're going to create a video, whether it's going to be me on camera or it's a faceless one, why are we creating it? Is it going to be search based or is it going to be viral? And then of course you have the script, like what's the framework of the script? Because you want to hook people. Then the story needs to be engaging enough so they keep watching. And then if you do it right, after they watch that video, what's the next video they're going to watch? Because you want to keep them on your channel.
They want to learn more, right? And then what's it going to lead them to? And I guess I've accidentally done it, but we could have done a much better job of letting people know, like, hey, if you stay till the end, you're going to hear about all this automation stuff that Drew's working on. And
we can do that in post editing. That's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Well, but we're there. So we've got 20 minutes left, and I really want to talk about this because it's just what you're doing is so interesting. And I've found a couple of young hipsters on Instagram that are doing it. I've actually probably DM'd you some of their accounts and whatever, but just this idea of taking a channel and building it from scratch where it's not your face, you're not making the owner of the channel is not making the videos and it's not his face. He's literally just funding the team to produce the videos and that's it. And then it monetizes and on from there. So lay it all out, spend a few minutes and like, what the heck is a faceless YouTube channel and why is that a business?
Well, let's start with, there's 2 types of channels on YouTube. The first one are the personality channels. So we were talking about that earlier, the chiropractor example I gave. That's
this video is the first video of a personality channel for me. So
right, you're the personality. This is Matt's channel and you're going to be on camera talking. So that's the first type. And honestly, that's statistically speaking, that's probably what the majority of people do. It's also what the majority of people fail at because it takes a lot of work. Equipment's expensive. Backdrops, everyone's got to, has this perfect aesthetic they're looking for. There's production value in it, and it all costs money, right? People have this perception it's free. It costs a ton of money.
Consistency, and there's no matter what, there's tech and keyword research and all the things, right?
So that's the first type, personality channels. The second type is faceless channels, and you did a great job describing it. It's just a video or series of videos on channel where there's no personality. Right? It's just all voiceover with video footage, B-roll footage, copyright-free footage, etc. And sometimes people call them cash cow channels. Sometimes people call them faceless channels. Sometimes people call them brand or niche channels. Some people call them cash flow channels. I call them faceless channels because it's the most descriptive. And listen, they are a business model the same as a personality channel is. Because listen, YouTube, they don't care if it's personality or faceless. What they care about is do people watch it? Because if people watch it, they can show ads on it. And if they can show ads on it, they can make money. This is the first aha for me when I got into this is when I thought, how's Facebook make money? Ads. How's Instagram make money? Ads. How's Google make money? Ads. How's TikTok make money? Ads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I thought, wait a minute. I've been used to spending money on ads. And when I stop spending money on ads, my traffic goes away. Now you're telling me I can pay for video production to put videos onto a channel, which I can outsource the whole thing. I don't have to be on there. I don't have to, have my makeup on and look pretty. I can just have my video done. And YouTube will sell ads for me on my video, and they'll give me 55% of the ad dollar. I was hooked. And then I said, wait a minute, can I add my affiliate links to drive traffic? And the answer was yes. I was like, great, let me do that. Will people click on them? Yes. Will people buy something? Yes. Will I earn money? Yes. Perfect. I got AdSense revenue. I got affiliate marketing revenue. Can I do brand deals and video sponsors? I see them being done, but on personality channels mostly. Can I do them on a Faceless channel? Yes, I can. Just turns out I had 10 people reach out to 10 companies in the pickleball space, reach out to me to ask if they could sponsor videos on our channel. So I have that, right? So I call the ABCDs of YouTube revenue. I got my AdSense affiliate marketing. I got my brand deal or sponsorship deals. Courses, coaches, and consulting are the C. So if I was a pickleball coach, I would have a pickleball coaching program that I would direct people to my offer. Now, I'm not a pickleball coach, but I have created a course to teach pickleball coaches how to set their business up online and run their ads and build a sales funnel, because that's all I've done for the past decade. I'd be a fool not to do that because I'm getting all the traffic. So there's courses, coaches, consulting. There's digital products, which are download and consume. Everyone asks me, what's the difference between online courses and digital products? And here's the difference. Digital products are download and consume, checklists, cheat sheets, ebooks, etc. Courses are I'm going to buy and consume and learn and hopefully do. And then you have memberships, and then you have print on demand apparel. So as I was going through this, right, I was like, Faceless channels, I can outsource everything. I can have multiple streams of revenue. So the next thing was, will they get views? And the answer is clearly, yes, they do get views. And then my favorite part is they might not get views today, but they might get them tomorrow or next week or next month. These videos are assets that you own. And so something that I've seen people struggle with over the last couple of months as I'm helping them get their channels launched is they get very emotionally attached to today's result. Oh, it didn't work today. So I've spent $100 on a video that was a waste of money. When the proper vision is to look as like you purchased an asset that might be profitable tomorrow, it might be profitable next week or next month. We just had a video on our soccer channel. It hadn't had a view in nearly a year. And for some reason during World Cup, it got 60,000 views.
Wow. Well, all right, let's talk about that, because there's lots of guys like your chiropractor and me, I think it was before we started recording, I was talking about all the podcasting I was doing during the pandemic. Like I was throwing up videos. I didn't really care what happened. Wasn't doing the keyword research, wasn't writing good descriptions, wasn't none of that stuff, right? And it didn't get any views, and it might never, right? So why are you able to get, what's the secret sauce of why you can get views? Like you do the work, before you start, you pretty much know that you're on the road. So talk about that, the difference between a channel that gets traffic and a channel that doesn't.
Well, I would clarify a little bit because I don't know, right? Like we do a lot of videos. I mean, we're doing close to 400 or 500 videos a month right now. They don't all get views. So what I know, Matt, that people aren't willing to accept is they're not all going to be perfect, right? Some are going to kill it, some are not. And so that's my first message to people is if your expectation is you're going to do one video and it's going to be magic, don't do it. If you think you're going to do 20 videos and they're all 20 going to be magic, don't do it, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment. It doesn't work that way. What we know is that there are niches that are proven to get video views. So we start with like, what's the niche we're going to go into? Because we've done the research to see that they're getting views. People are searching for them and there's viral videos. And then we create topics around that. And, Mr. Beast, who I think is arguably the greatest YouTuber on the planet in terms of results, subscribers, revenue, popularity, views, all of that. I just saw him on a video the other day. He said, listen, if you're complaining about YouTube and you haven't like the success and views and you haven't done at least 101 videos, don't waste his time. Like he was like, do 101 videos and then come and talk to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we know is like, it's going to take time. We know it's a long game, not a short game. And so I will tell you that part of the struggle is with my background and being in, course creation and funnels and all this, there's an abundance of people who are selling offers that look something like this. Pay me a bunch of money and I'll show you how to regurgitate my offer so you can make a bunch of money tomorrow. I call it the Don Lapre model. If I'm aging myself, and if you're young, you won't even know who I'm talking about, but Matt, you're laughing, you might remember Don Lapre, and his whole business model was like, hey, I'll show you how to make a bunch of money by placing these little ads in newspapers. And that was the model, right? There was no substance. It was like, I sent you money and you told me to do that. Now I run an ad and that's what's going on in the online marketing space. And so the big difference for me was all of that is great and it all works. You can make a ton of money doing that. But the day you stop working, all that money goes away. The day you're not pretty enough to be on camera anymore, it all goes away. The day you lose your voice, it all goes away. These YouTube channels are a business. I can outsource them. I can build teams to run them, and they produce revenue and views and traffic and clicks, whether I get out of bed or not.
Well, you touched on something there that I want to hit on, and that is, I talked about how, I really like Instagram. I spend a lot of time there and whatever, but, a lot of the gurus who are getting traffic are like, 30 years old and amazingly handsome or beautiful. And like, that's a big factor, especially in more Instagram world where it's like scroll, 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 beautiful person. Okay, let me read their copy. So like, we all talk like hook story offer is so important. Well, their hook is their face, right? Yeah. So that's like a big thing. But in the YouTube space in particular, it's much more about what you said and the value of your content, right? And I think if I'm interested in your content, like if I want to fix my saw blade, I don't really care what you look like, man. I care that you know how to fix my saw blade, right?
Because it's entertainment or education. So in that saw blade, you're there for the education. Like, how do I do this? And most of our channels are entertainment, right? Not necessarily how to play pickleball. We have some of those videos, but I don't know if you're learning to play sport by watching a video. Probably got to go out and do it. So we're just playing off of this belief that I have, which is if you're looking to build an audience, YouTube is probably not the best place for you. Go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Pinterest. YouTube is about the views. That's it. The views. And I would say this because here's why I like faceless versus personality. And it's the same thing in real estate, Matt. When I was in real estate, I always loved working with investors versus the general homeowner. Because like the buyer, right? The average person would walk in and they would make comments like, I don't like the carpet. I don't like the floor. I don't like the paint. I don't like this. I don't like that. And it was all things you could change easy, but they were so caught up in the emotion of it, where the investors oftentimes, they don't even go look at the property. There's like the numbers. Does it make sense? Yes or no? That's where we're at with faceless channels, because you can't get caught up in this, it's like art. It's subjective. Like, oh, I love his voice. Like one day, a couple of months ago, this lady messaged me out of the blue and she said, hey, I love your videos on Facebook. I love listening to your voice. And I was like, hey, that's amazing. Like maybe she was catfishing me, but she was a little older than I was. So who knows? But for one person that loves my voice, there might be 1,000 that can't stand it. Right. Or someone who goes, oh, he's attractive. And someone goes, oh, I hate him. And so on YouTube, what gets it is the audio, right? The voice. People are like, oh, I love the voice. I hate the voice. And that can make or break the video for sure. But we focus on the people who like them, not the people that don't. And that's a tough pill, I think, for people to get over, because the word you hear is like trolls, right? People read comments and like, oh, there's haters and they're telling me I'm stupid or I'm a fraud or and then it makes you quit because you're like, man, I don't want to deal with all that. When you do faceless channels, we don't read the comments. We could care less. I mean, I just read them the other day for pure entertainment's sake. And it was comical. It was like, greatest channel ever. Love this. You guys do great. this is the worst, dumbest video I've ever seen in my life. I mean, right? That'll make you nuts if you do it. And so again, for me, why I'm so excited is just that YouTube, like when you do it this way, it can be a business. It can be an asset that you can sell, not a job. And time freedom is important to me, like it is you. The last thing I need is another job.
Well, you know, you look at it obviously just as a business, as you've been saying, and I love that your whole approach to everything, right? I sent you some numbers yesterday or the day before, and I was like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z by this date, and your response was, well, okay, like, what's the offer? You know, how much traffic do we need? Like, you know, you just broke it down to like it just is the math, right?
It's just the math. I mean, and that's, again, that brings us back full circle, right? So if you're online marketing, there's an event in San Diego called Traffic and Conversions. That's really all it is like you have to have traffic. And the one thing they lead out is an offer, but conversions, I think that, you know, their assumption is you get that. But if you're starting out, you don't get it. So you have to have an offer. What are you going to sell? What problems is it going to solve? Who's it going to solve those problems for? And then how do you get those people to that offer so that you can make your sales? So, you know, again, just to use frameworks we've already talked about so people track with this is if you want to make $10,000 a month and you create one offer for whoever, say a chiropractor, and that chiropractor has XYZ problems and you solve those problems and your offer is $10,000, well, you got to make one sale. But what's your sales conversion? Maybe you close 10%. So you got to talk to 10 people. 10% of 10 is 1, I think. My math is correct. You got to do, and that's how you just go through the math. And then now that you understand the numbers, you got to go, well, how do I do that? And that's where YouTube, in this conversation, that's where YouTube could come in, is it can provide the traffic. I say free, it's not free. You got to pay for the video production, but give you an example. My pickleball channel, our video production runs us about $1,500 a month. So I don't know the math, so I'm going to do it on my calculator. We had, I think, 86,000 views this month. So if I take 1,500 divided by 86,000, I mean, you know, like that's what I'm paying per view, I guess.
I think that would be the other way. Wouldn't it be 86,000 divided by 1,500?
86,000 divided by 1,500.
It's still going to be a very small number.
57 cents.
Yeah, that's right. I think.
I mean, so right, that's how you look at it. You say, well, what would I pay per click?
Yeah.
Right. Because
you pay a lot more than 57 cents, right?
I mean, I think so, especially if you're just figuring out how to run ads or you don't have the best ad person.
It's funny, with the couple of minutes we had left, I wanted to talk about some numbers. So let's talk about the pickleball channel, but the piece that you just covered, you assumed that the channel didn't make any money yet, and maybe it didn't initially. So initially, it's going to cost you $57 per view to get 86,000 views. But the minute you have some AdSense and everything like that, like talk about how the math works. You posted some stuff the other day about a channel that made $20,000 in a month, I think.
That was our soccer channel. Yeah, 5 videos, $20,000.
What's realistic? Like, how long does it take? And what is, all those things that you've explained to me.
Here's what we tell everyone. Our expectation, this is not our guarantee. We don't work at YouTube. We don't control the algorithm, but our expectation for our channels and anyone's channel is AdSense alone. AdSense is the revenue YouTube pays you for the ads they show on your video. So AdSense alone, we anticipate channels to take 6 to 9 months to become break even or profitable. Could happen sooner, could happen longer, but 6 to 9 months is kind of what our internal expectation is. Now, the way you accelerate that is with the ABCDs, affiliate marketing, brand deals, courses, coaches, digital products, print on demand, et cetera. So an example, our pickleball channel is just starting month 5. I have a screenshot on my profile somewhere about it, so I'm going to round up the numbers. So $1,500 a month is my production. So 15, 3, 6, $7,500 I'm out for production. The AdSense is probably close to $3,500 to $4,000. So let's do round math here. If my production cost is $7,000 for the month 5, and we're just now going into month 5, and let's just say it's made $3,500 in AdSense, so I'm 50% in the hole, right? But
well, yeah, and it's important that the number, I mean, you're only $3,500 in the hole,
right.
you know, and you,
And I
yeah,
have an asset.
yeah,
And I have 10 companies reaching out to me for sponsorships. So if I just charge each of those sponsorship companies $100, which is like the bare minimum, I'm sure I can probably do closer to 500, but let's just say 100 because I don't want to paint pie in the sky for people. Now let's say all 10 of them do a deal. Well, 10 times 100 is $1,000. So if the AdSense keeps doing what it's doing, and I do that, then, you know, I'm break even. I've made up that $3,000 difference in, you know, another 3 to 4 months, most likely. If I can get them to pay $200, you know, I'm probably in the black, you know, 2.5, 3 months.
mhm.
And
Man,
again, it's an asset now I can sell.
The whole thing is unbelievably interesting to me, and I can't wait to go back and watch this video a year from now and 2 years from now and think about, you know, what's changed and what we've accomplished by then. And but shockingly, we are at the end of our time, bro, and that was incredibly awesome. So thanks for sharing your wealth of knowledge and everything that you're doing to work on my first channel, now my second channel. We didn't really talk about my first channel, but you know, we covered the examples, and I guess we're gonna have to do part 2 of this real soon.
Yeah, we'll do part 2 because I want to tell people about the exit strategy.
That's it. All right, guys. Well, then stay tuned. I guess we just called it. There's going to be a part 2. So Drew, thanks very much, man.
All right, thanks, brother. Have a great